Morning. Welcome to the 11 o'clock business meeting of the Cowlitz County Board of County Commissioners. We have the usual agenda where Public Works actually explains to us how the world moves. So let's go ahead with that right now and bring Public Works up. But they will start out with building and planning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tracy Jackson, Building and Planning Department. I'm going to let Mike and Wayne take over this morning. We're just going to talk about month-end reports and then boundary line adjustment ideas. But I wanted the board to know to follow up. We received a public records request from a constituent in the Klamath area, and our department's working with Bailey to fulfill it. So just letting you know in case you hear any squabbles, we are working on his request.
That was a request regarding,
A property owner, the neighbor.
oh,
Yep. In the Klamath area. We're working on it. I just wanted the board to know. We've fulfilled his request, but he has additional information he's wanting. So we're working on it.
well, the commissioner from Kalama, I'm sure appreciates everything you're doing.
That's why I'm letting that commissioner know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll turn it over to Wayne and Mike.
Morning, Mike Wilson, Building and Planning. Okay, for the building numbers activity for this month, a little bit down from this time last year, which we kind of anticipated given the condition of the market, the interest rates and so forth. So we're still, serving the public well, although numbers are a little bit down, we are very busy and we expect to be so through the rest of the year. On another note, working with council, as you may be aware, the state has adopted the Wildland Urban Interface Code statewide. One of the challenges sometimes is acquiring property in order to establish defensible space, which is the backbone of the Wildland Urban Interface Code. And council's been crafting, we've been working with them to craft another tool to put in the box, a way of creating easements that neighbors can share their space in order to provide that defensible space. Same as with a covenant for the declared defensible space will follow the property, so will the easement. So in perpetuity, so as long as these properties are owned by these parties and the defensible space is required, this is a way of maintaining that through time.
I think if you wouldn't mind defining for the public what a defensible space is.
The Wildland Urban Interface Code, right, is a way and means by which someone can protect their meet the requirements of the fire code in the absence of fire protection water supply. The defensible space is that which is a buffer around the property such that if fire approaches the building, it's less likely to be encouraged by the materials, the combustible materials that may be around a building. So you clear that such that fire can't approach, and vice versa. If the building is on fire, it's less likely to spread to a neighboring property because, again, this buffer exists to prevent or at least control that from occurring. So the creation of easements so that neighboring properties can share this ability is a great boon to this whole process. And there again, another tool in the box, so to speak. Went through some draft copy of this morning that was provided by council, and it looks very encouraging.
Yeah, have there been many issues in the past where this would have resolved something?
Yes, we've had requests because it's an obvious solution in some cases where, not the lot may be narrow, but the neighboring property has quite a bit of land that may be occupied by a driveway, something that's going to be substantially in place as it is for a long time. And there's no objection to using it, but legally they can't use it unless there's an easement to do so.
Yeah, let me stop you there. I'll probably take a little exception here, but what you're describing is there's bureaucracy and common sense.
Yeah,
And the common sense is always ahead of bureaucracy. And I would feel victimized if I were held back from doing something because we haven't passed the rules yet. So I think building and planning is starting to keep that outlook in mind. So I expect you to be a rabble rouser there and come up to our office, pound on the desk and say, this is stupid. This person should be granted a permit. You need to fix this. I appreciate that you're going ahead and fixing that now, and I hope whatever is in the works right now can be taken care of.
yes, I believe it is. It's a good, solid step towards that direction, and it looks very successful. So
Okay.
that's all I have. I'll pass it off to planning.
Thank you, Wayne Nelson.
Oh,
Building.
before that, I'm sorry, you passed it off. I had a question. Did you have questions?
No, I concur with your comments. That's just
I appreciate
correct
that.
direction.
Yeah. In my notes here, I have something. Oh, what's the time between, how long does it take me to get a permit if I want to do an ADU?
If planning clearance is established and there are no obstacles as to what and where, then the applicant is welcome to apply for a building permit. Currently, the queue for the waiting time between time of building application and first look by a plans examiner is about 4 weeks
About 4 weeks?
currently.
Okay. Is there a situation where everything is, where everything that the applicant can do has been done, and we are the ones that are holding up the progress?
It's just simply a matter of their turn in line. The documentation may be very well done and complete.
No. Let me ask the question again. Everything is taken care of. All these ifs that you're talking about, all taken care of, and now we're just pending the determination by the building department to issue the permit.
Okay, here again, it would just be a matter of their project coming to the top of the pile, so to speak.
Okay, and so I'm asking, how long would that take?
Currently about 4 weeks. There would be that many projects in front of that one.
Wow. What's your
But you
thinking?
just told us that projects are down.
Well, the starts are slightly down. I should say issued or slightly down from this time last year, about 6%. Whereas building inspections currently are very high. So our staff shares time between plans examination and building inspection on an as-need basis. One plans examiner is pretty much dedicated to the task of plans examination, but he also examines plans for commercial industrial work as well. Whereas our other plans examiner shares time significantly with building
Yeah,
inspection.
if I could stop you, that's all good. We're not trying to question how you're doing inside. We're really trying to find out if there's anything you can do about bringing that down from 4 weeks to 2 weeks even.
As volume of work changes, yes, we can. It's just simply a matter of matching.
I didn't understand that statement. If
Well-
you can, why is it taking 4 weeks if you can drop it down to 2 weeks?
Well, because to do so would put it ahead of someone else that may have been waiting.
No, but someone else is the same in the mix. I'm just talking, I'm almost speaking statistically. I don't.
It
Understood.
strikes me, though, that when we have a construction season that's weather dependent, like we do.
Yeah.
a 4-week wait time is really not acceptable. I
Yeah.
thought we had cut it back to much.
We were down to as little as a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And when I say 4 weeks, I'm erring on the side of caution.
You see, this is not a question of caution. This is a question of your numbers, your data that said I had 25 applications and collectively they delayed on average 4 weeks. Or 2 weeks. And we're trying to get that number such that statistically, if I walk in the door and everything else is taken care of, I'll get my answer preferably at the door, but I realize that's too ambitious, but somewhere much less than the 4 weeks.
Well, that's always our objective, our goal. It's not that the review itself takes that long. It's just simply a matter of their time in line to their project to come to the top of the pile, so to speak. The review may be accomplished in 1 day. And if there are no revisions necessary, it would be issued that day. So yes, the objective, of course, is to eliminate all those projects in a timely manner, such as theirs, come to the top of the pile, so to speak, right away. But we're constrained with, our staffing capabilities and the time that we have to do the work. Now, we have had it down, as I said, as little as a week.
And then
And-
what happened?
Well, more work came in and there are other staffing anomalies and so forth. I mean, it's just the operation of business, juggling several balls, so to speak, at one time. I believe our staffing levels are good for the amount of work that we have. And we can certainly get those timelines down. It's just a matter of just clearing those things out of the way. Right now, we're managing them such that we isolate what are considered simple projects from more complex ones and putting those on a faster track. Currently, something as you've described, I would normally assign a 2-week expectation on it. And of course, that allows some time for unforeseen obstacles and difficulties.
And always question whether I should pursue this or not, because I think I would recommend that we need to keep very good statistics on overall performance and individual performance. How many clearances have I done this week? And you can bend those any way you want. Like if we're doing a $600,000 home, it's going to be should take more time than a $200,000 home. I understand all those things, but you can bend those in a way that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
I would expect that this would be a topic we'll continue to discuss. And, trying to figure out, we want to encourage you to do what you can to shrink down that timeline.
It's
Just-
feast or famine. It's pretty much what comes in the door is what we plan for.
So the
It
time
has
should-
not
So the time
stopped.
should be coming down then.
Time should be, and now that we're fully staffed and that we're not using resources in the back that would have been reviewing plans, they're up in front helping the new staff answer questions as well. So their time is being spent that way too. Mike's not doing all of that. He has to, juggle himself too between all the staff. So
And I understand when we have do-it-yourselfers that don't have the experience on how to get things done the right way, that's more time consuming on your part. I understand that. You have to take a lot longer to explain things. So I get that. But you also probably are familiar with your customers that do a good job and, they know how to get it done the right way. So those ought to be processed. To me, those should be processed faster those that require more assistance and help and guidance is gonna take longer, but.
So the thing with issuing numbers like year over year, we're at half, it flies in the face on the surface of it of the claim of the workload statistics. But also you may want to think of a long-term plan where you know that during the winter months, you're not going to have as much load to carry, and maybe there's a way you can figure out. I'm not suggesting anything because I don't know any answers. It's
Right.
just a question that comes to mind on that. There was something else, but the mind's a terrible thing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Again, Wayne Nelson. So I guess somewhat as follow-up to last month's update and then a little bit of continuation of today's conversation. Really in terms of volume, the planning clearances are one of the key numbers reflective of the amount of activity in the department. And as you see again, year over year, meaning this year to last year, we are consistently down month to month. For this year, that has been consistent, but down overall. You know, as was explained before, some of that or a lot of it actually has to do with the fluctuation in the not only the cycle but in the length of the validity of the permit. They're good for 5 years. So say we could have a peak of permits in 1 year. Over the next couple of years, it may go down as we get a new wave of permits in and or as those expire. The other thing I want to point out in looking at I'll say our down numbers is both with respect to the critical areas permits and the SEPA determinations. And with those, I attribute I'll say much of that to the staff's ability to assist customers. So when somebody comes in with a project and say it is encumbered with one or more critical areas, we're able to help assist them and navigate them through the process, come up with alternative ideas to their site plan. So maybe a permit, instead of the first response being you need permit A, B, and C, we say, hey, well, here's some alternatives you can look at with your property to avoid the permit. And so that, of course, is going to reflect reduction of those actual critical area permit numbers, but not in the work itself. Same with SEPA. For the environmental review, there's very specific threshold determinations when SEPA review is mandatory and when it's not. And for the most part, on the smaller developments, particularly subdivisions, things of that nature, provided they're not on lands covered by water, in general, we can exempt those. And so I'm really pushing staff to look for and apply those exemptions when available. So that's going to be reflected in the lower number of overall permits as well. So
Sounds that's the direction we want to go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Question, the SEPA times, we've been asking for it to be a month before rather than 2 weeks like before. Where's that progress? I think you're pending the planning commission giving your yay or nay on it, or do I remember that improperly?
So with SEPA, when an application comes in, once we reviewed it, we make our threshold determination. Generally speaking, it's a determination of non-significance. There's a mandatory 14-day comment period when that goes out before we can act on the permit. What coincides with that is also a 10-day interagency review. And so I've really been pushing so that within the first week of receiving a permit, we review it, make sure we have all the necessary components in place, whether it be site plan or if there's additional study warranted, anything of that nature. We identify that very quickly, and then we release those for both interagency review and for SEPA comment if and when applicable. So that way we'll have our 10-day interagency review running concurrently with our 14-day SEPA comment period. And like I said, I'm really pushing to get those out within the first week, or at least I'd notify the applicant that we need additional information from you in order to proceed. And so I think we're doing a pretty good job right now at hitting those at 2 weeks to get those out for review and comment.
Yeah, the problem I have with that is we get people in the audience saying they didn't know. And it, for a variety of things, not just a SEPA.
Are you talking about the notification of the surrounding properties of a project?
Right. where-
Okay, that's a separate issue. That's the planning commission, the
Correct.
notices and the signs. Planning commission has given their blessing on those and those are coming forward. I think that's the
Much
big
bigger-
4x4
The
signs.
much bigger signs that.
Yes,
let the
they're
neighbors
quite
know
large. They're
something's
as
proposed.
wide almost as this table. They're very large. And I believe instead of the 300-foot notice, it's 1,000-foot.
So those changes are forthcoming, but it'll be 500 feet,
500
I
feet.
believe. And really depending on the type of permit that's applied for determines the public hearing comment period. For example, a shoreline permit, a substantial development permit that goes before the hearing examiner, there's a mandatory 30-day comment period. Currently, there's a 10-day comment period, say, for example, a comprehensive plan amendment that goes before the planning commission. There's a 10-day comment period in addition to the SEPA.
See,
comment.
I thought we had decided, do we want to move that to a month?
We
Not the mandatory 2 weeks, but to go beyond that another
correct.
2 weeks. Are we doing that?
We are. So where that is in process, the planning commission has approved it, moved it forward for consideration by the board. It's with Doug currently. So he's looking at it and we expect to have an ordinance in front of you, a draft ordinance in front of you for consideration in the next couple of weeks, pending legal review.
Okay,
Sounds.
so we're actually holding you up from doing the month on the comment period from the citizens?
I'm sorry.
So it's the board that's holding you up from
No, the board isn't. It hasn't been brought to the board yet. It's staff's holding it up.
So is that the lawyers right now?
Exactly.
that I understand.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
the last hurdle before we bring it to the board.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, the last thing I want is for us to be the stumbling block on
No.
anything.
Absolutely not.
Review board.
Any additional questions on permit activity?
No, do you have any highlight of anything you'd wish to highlight in terms of, did you know there's a new subdivision going in, that kind of thing?
No, we have not received an application for a formal subdivision in some time. We have one special use permit application that's been submitted and it's converting a portion of an existing church to classroom facility. Outside of that, it's pretty mundane in terms of project excitement, I'll say. Nothing out of the ordinary.
So the last several years, we've approved 3 new subdivisions.
Correct.
One was the cottage subdivision out on Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
And one is North Lexington. And then the other one is on Hall Road, which is, I think, was phase 3 out of
Right.
several phases, right?
Right.
Where are they in the development? on that?
So Maxwell Farms is the North Lexington one. That's currently in the developers court. They're still wrapping up their final conditions of approval. So I've been working with them on somewhat of a regular basis. They'll feed us a little bit of stuff. We'll review it, get back to them. So it's in their court as we speak. What is it? Silver Lake Phase 3. They've submitted their preliminary design. That's currently with Public Works right now for the engineering, for the infrastructure and whatnot. And the cottage one on Pennsylvania has been quiet as of late. They haven't made any action recently.
And so they're about ready to start year 3 of their 5 years, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
Have any of those done any groundbreaking?
Not that we're aware of.
And
Cottage, no, nothing at the cottage. North Lexington is.
Yeah,
they're
North
paving-
Lexington,
they're moving dirt around.
Correct.
And I don't know about the Hall Road one.
I wouldn't expect that they're doing any work on the Hall Road.
Okay.
Do we, I think we suspect that, West Side Highway is going to be a bottleneck issue for the Lexington one. Pennsylvania Avenue will be the problem for the, was it Lamont? The name of that development anyhow. And, those are all because of traffic.
Well, the one with Lexington, the traffic is exacerbated by all the new apartments going out there, which wasn't one of the 4 subdivisions that we approved, but
Oh, I thought we did approve the whole apartment complex up there.
I don't remember that being one of the subdivisions that we've approved, but I might have missed it, so I'm
Sure.
There's about 70 homes and some apartments going up.
Well, and there's that one, the North Lexington one, that's what
That's
you're
North
talking about.
Lexington.
I was
right.
talking about the one on Solomon Road.
Oh,
that-
that's just
that
the
all those
commercial
townhomes.
apartments.
I don't think that's,
Those are just commercial apartments out there. It was zoned for that.
but the principal out at Lexington believes they'll have 100 new students and that school will be filled
Yep.
to capacity when
Yep.
those, and they've already started renting the Riverstone Villa or something like that.
I wouldn't be worried about it because the families can't drive out of there because they can't get out onto West Side Highway.
Can't turn left.
Yeah, turning left would, yeah, there are issues there. So we know that's going to happen. It's not specifically our responsibility nor your responsibility. It was looked at by the Planning Commission and so forth. All the boxes were checked. I just know we're gonna have a problem there.
When does Solomon Road get a stoplight at
I don't know. That's a state highway.
State Highway?
Yeah,
The state has to approve it, I suppose.
probably. Yep. Susan's shaking her head, yes.
Except I know she could drive the bulldozer out there
She
and
could, and she might.
okay, thank you. Any other
We,
questions?
we just know that's gonna be a real headache.
Yeah.
We've got one more for you.
So one additional topic we wanted to bring forward today for your consideration is the notion of a formal boundary line adjustment review
Yeah.
process. Currently, we do have a process in place in which we actually do charge a fee for, but it's effectively a voluntary review process. And it's good and bad. It's good in the sense that it does afford somebody the opportunity, should they seek it, for us to review a proposed boundary line adjustment. But the consequence of that is it's not always mandatory, or it's never mandatory. So we have people recording boundary line adjustments that haven't benefited from our review. And so what they creates a host of problems, largely these boundary line adjustments that occur without review, they can present access issues because maybe no access is provided to the underlying properties after the adjustment. Maybe it's blocked access, perhaps lines have been adjusted, so now we have non-conforming lots, so they don't meet the minimum lot size requirements of the underlying zone. Maybe the boundary line adjustment impacts a drain field area or reserve area. Maybe it gets an encroachment within 100 feet of a well. There's a number of concerns of why it's to the public's interest and benefit to have these reviewed. And I want to make it clear that the state subdivision law, RCW 5817 is very clear that boundary line adjustments are unconditionally exempt from the state subdivision law. And so what I'm suggesting, or we're suggesting as a department, is not to impose development regulations on boundary line adjustments, but to afford a standard review process so we can check those lots for conformity to protect future purchasers or developers or or users of those lots. So when they come to the department and present a building permit application, we don't turn them away in the sense that you have either a illegally created or non-conforming lot of record, you're out of luck. And we do have the innocent purchaser process in place for those circumstances. But it would seem that it would behoove both the department and the public in general to have a formal boundary line adjustment process by ordinance. And so at the last BPAC meeting, I suggested the same to the BPAC committee, and they actually were relatively well receptive to the idea and asked us to explore it further and come back with some more specifics to the matter. In the meantime, I've also spoke to Doug about it and got his thoughts. So, and he very definitely gave us a narrow scope by which we could operate under, saying, okay, here's the rules by which you can review these boundary line adjustments. And so we have, so we've taken that step. And then the next step is I'd like to go to the planning commission. We have our next planning commission this next Wednesday and present them the same for consideration and get their feedback as well as I'm doing here today. And so if the board's compelled for us not to pursue it whatsoever, we won't. But you'd like additional information or you'd like us to take this the next step further, which would be continuing it with BPAC, continuing it with planning commission, invite public comment, et cetera, and take it through the normal public review process. We're prepared to do that. And so I'm looking for some direction and also any questions or comments you may have.
So I have two concerns. One of them is this a solution looking for problems? I mean, has there been a problem? Is it a serious problem? Having non-conforming uses that have been approved because of the voluntary nature of the boundary adjustment process. So that's one concern that I have. I don't know how much of a problem it is. But the second thing is we had a discussion earlier about time for permitting. And I'm worried about adding yet one more permit process that bogs the system down a little bit more.
Well, the boundary line adjustment is on the planning side.
Mhm.
And then the building is the timelines for permit reviews. But we've had a number of problems lately that have surfaced at the counter. And I think it stemmed back to the last, shall we say, housing boom, if I'm being honest, where people were taking large pieces of property and dividing them up by tens. And then they were boundary line or large lotting them and then doing boundary line adjustments because they can record them at any time, encroach on anybody's basically piece of property, record anything they want, and then they sell them. And then these people are coming to our counters with basically a non-conforming, non-buildable lot. And how unfortunate for us to get to tell them that really you can't do a lot with their piece of property. What we're trying to do is just truly be like good stewards and trying to help the larger landowner to divide up their property correctly. So then it doesn't hurt them, the people they sell it to, the people they give it to, gift it to, whatever they're doing with it. We have a lot of road approach problems, access problems. I know Susan's very familiar with some areas out in the Rose Valley area that large pieces of property, people did large lots, then they've done all these weird boundary line adjustments and they boundary line adjust the heck out of these pieces of parcels. And now some of them are not even, I mean, really without a bunch of easements through about 3 different people's properties, they can't even access their property. So it's kind of crazy what people can record and why they record it. But they do it and then we're stuck with what's left. It's just a way to kind of protect the buyer and seller, really.
So in that case, is that a legitimate recording? I mean, it's recorded, so it, by that definition,
Yeah.
is legitimate, but what is recorded legitimate?
Yeah, because anybody can record anything on a piece of property. Yeah,
But-
I mean,
Can I go and record an easement on your property?
technically, yes.
So I need your address if I'm gonna do
Sure.
that. I mean,
I
isn't
mean, they
that,
can really record anything.
isn't that the problem?
No, not, it's a piece of it, but not all of it. And so
The
this is
$300 document recording fee doesn't slow people down on those
Not at
kinds
all.
of things.
not at all, not when they're gonna make how much selling that piece of property. It's, pennies at that point.
How much of this is done in bad faith? Do you have an idea?
I don't know. Not enough, but it's enough to where they're starting to surface and we're trying to look out for the homeowner trying to do something with their piece of property.
Oh, yeah, no,
It's- Yeah,
no question. I'm
Right.
convinced we should do something. I'm just trying to figure out what that something could be. My experience with yet another committee or group, the boundary line group.
no, we're not looking to create I think it's just an internal process. We're already reviewing if they come to the counter and do a boundary line adjustment, we already review it, but this is taking it a little more, not formalized, but steps in place to where when they record it, they're recording something that actually is real and they can use it going forward.
And they record it down in
The auditor's office, yeah.
Without review from your office.
They can at any time right now, yes.
Okay, so that's what needs to be changed. Make sure that they can't record unless there's been a review, right?
Well, and that's part of
That's
the
what you're,
planning process that we're talking about, having some kind of checkbox that all this has been done. Now let's take it forward.
So from what you said earlier, I could try and record an easement on your property without
Yep.
going through Wayne, who would slap me.
Yep.
Okay. So what you're offering is a partial solution to the one who's not trying to do the thing I just described.
Right. We're trying to protect the buyer.
Oh, yeah, no,
We really are without really enforcing anything on them.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
really clear we have to do something. I'm just trying to figure out what it is that would work best.
will it help secure water easements that have been recorded where the recording has been lost?
I don't know about that.
We've had a couple of discussions, at least complaints to us
Yeah,
on that whole issue. But having the office review any kind of a boundary review for just some of the basic requirements, like drain fields and public road access for fire safety.
Frankly, I can share with you 6 very specific criteria of what our department would review the boundary line adjustment for. So
see, if I could interrupt you, a thing that's running through my mind is I know you presumably, if I'm a buyer of one of these pieces of property, I'm going to pay someone a chunk of money to do the title report. And at this point, I'm starting to think the title report is useless. Now, I've had to talk, I've tried to talk to title companies before about being a little bit more responsive, and they're absolutely uninterested in doing anything that might increase their workload because they have essentially a captive audience. And so they don't care whether they're doing the right thing or not. They're doing the bureaucratic thing. I forget where I was going with this, but yeah, can you tie this in some way to title companies? Yeah, better not ask that. I kind of know the answer is it's a hole in space that won't get filled. Okay,
So,
continue. You were
well,
saying.
I'll just to touch on what you were saying. So the direction we've received back from Doug, from legal, is the auditor's duties are largely ministerial,
Right.
meaning we're essentially obligated to record anything and everything. With respect to the title company, they're going to note it as whatever's recorded as an exception to the title. So the shorter answer is no, it's not going to cure anything in the sense of it's not going to prevent somebody that wants to go record an encumbrance on somebody else's property, that it's going to prevent them. What it does do is it protects a purchaser that the property that they're purchasing has been afforded the review by the department, that it is a legal lot of record and conforming to the applicable standards.
So going back to my example, I'm recording some easement on Tracy's property, does she not need, does not the recording need to have two signatures, mine and hers?
It, to get recorded, no. To be a legally binding and enforceable document, presumably yes. But to get through the auditor's door, no, it does not.
Anyhow, I so I think they should proceed. This is,
Yeah.
we know there's a problem. We are interested in a solution.
Correct.
Okay. We'll look forward to the report back, the recommendations.
Thank you.
No, it's thank you for finding that. That building and planning group was pretty long-winded today. Look at that.
We may need to have them come back just for their own workshop on Wednesdays, the ones we always cancel.
That's right.
Oh, the next one's going to be really short.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Moss, Public Services. You have a spreadsheet in front of you from facilities maintenance of the updates on the projects they're doing currently. I believe there's 11 projects listed on here from a lot of HVAC updates and then some other remodels on here. I'm gonna have Will probably update you guys on a couple of these, but feel free to ask any questions on these 11. I know you didn't get these ahead of time, but I'll have them updated a couple of highlights on here.
Good morning, Commissioners. Will Tosted, Facilities Manager. So I'll just breeze through a couple of these. Some of the high level ones are HVAC are on the second page. Courtroom 7 was an approved CIP project, and it's just waiting for 2 panels to be done. Carpet's been done, paint's been done. So it's just waiting for Correction Industries panels, and that should be completed anytime now within the next couple of weeks. Our UPS system, we changed out batteries. With the battery change out, there was a failed control board. So that was another additional project to that UPS system that has been resolved now.
These are done by.
Oh, I was just going down the list. Yep, number 2. The next one is
On number 2, that we had seen that before and we had approved a contract, and then there was an additional problem found.
correct.
Okay.
Yep. And a couple other projects, we're waiting for some gates. Public Works and the jail have had gate issues for some time. We approved a contract with 2 separate contractors for those. Waiting on parts. The HHS roof should start this week, actually. And they're going to start demo, and that'll get done before winter time. So that's a good project that's been ongoing. We had some elevator repairs that needed to be done, and lights were replaced, but we're waiting on a governor for the public car at the Hall of Justice. And I'll go ahead and skip to the second page and some of the higher dollar projects. The jail HVAC has been all replaced. They're just working with Siemens right now to dial in the system, try to gain control of that. Siemens wrote a new protocol as its new equipment in order to fully operate that system. The annex and admin boilers and HVAC are waiting for equipment delivery. So that won't be until October, probably September completion. And the museum has all been replaced, and that should be running fine. I think everything was completed as of Friday, but I haven't talked to Don Nyman yet this morning to see if there was any problems. Same thing, the boilers, as I said, for the admin and annex are waiting for equipment delivery. It's looking October, September. October, November.
So offhand, it looks like we're gonna be spending for the annex 300,000 on line 9 and probably another, what, 200,000 on line 11?
Yeah, the 300,000 is split between admin and annex. So if you wanted to split that in half, you could probably say, yeah, 450 is going into the annex HVAC system.
Wow. Yeah. Thing that's bothersome here, we've talked any number of times about, do we really want the annex building? And right now we've got the partial empty floor, right?
Yeah, the third floor.
And we got noxious weeds there that doesn't take a whole lot of room. And we've got your group, which doesn't take a lot of room. And then there's the cog. And then a bunch of garbage up in the third floor. It
Yep.
seems like to spend $500,000 or so for that, it really needs a plan. What really are we gonna do with this
Yeah, and-
building?
and just a reminder, these are all, previously approved contracts. So
Right. Because part of the discussions in the past have been just even demolishing the building.
yeah, and we are in the middle, Savannah's heading up, some space projections. What are we going to do with county, where staff is going to go? And she's doing a good job on that. And we're looking at lots of options.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions here, Dennis? No. This sort of is a useless anecdote. When I first came up to the Pacific Northwest, I wondered, why do we even have air conditioning up here? And then it occurred to me, most of the buildings like this one, you can't open the windows. So we've really got ourselves boxed in.
It's nice to be able to blame earlier commissioners for making bad decisions, right?
Oh, absolutely. Or we've got our, Rick Dahl is not here, so he could be responsible if only he had been here longer. Let's see, courtroom 7 remodel. Could you refresh my memory? We're gonna turn that into a what?
They're turning that into office space.
Okay.
Yep.
And the gun range, that's coming out of a grant?
Yeah, that's the RCO grant for the trap houses there. Actually, the company that we're using or got granted the contract was TransBlue. They actually submitted for permits last Thursday. So hopefully in the next week or two, they'll start construction out there. And they say once they start, it should be about a 2-week process.
How long?
2
Sorry.
weeks.
2 weeks. I'm not used to numbers that small.
It's a pretty simple project, but
Yeah. Simple, but still $97,000 worth.
yeah, a lot of
simple.
material, I don't know how many yards of concrete, but a lot of those pads are fairly large and the trap houses they're 6 inches thick. So there's a lot of material involved.
Yeah, we probably should have a work session on the gun range by itself someday.
There's a lease that's coming due at 2025, right?
25, correct, yes. And I believe the sheriff's office and CG&A, Cowlitz Game Anglers, have finalized the agreement for them to sublease for the 100-yard range for the sheriff's office. So I would guess I'll be in front of you guys in the next few weeks for approval.
Oh, okay. How do we view those subleases? Like at the moment, I've got the impression that direct operational costs are not really handled by all the fees we charge. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, that'd be a separate agreement that we have with game and anglers, that some of the fees that go there are split between operations and maintenance and also lead abatement. So Sean's in charge of that budget. We get enough money in to cover the expenses out there, which is like garbage, electricity, some smaller maintenance on their facility. And then they use some of the money on their side for their everyday expenses up there with their volunteers. But like the RCO grant for the trap house, that actually came out of the general fund and the parks fund budget.
Yeah, look at your group as being like the COO of the gun range, and so.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. We've been involved quite a bit with the sheriffs and the game and anglers on that agreement there and some of the issues they have had at the beginning, but they're out there.
Have they reached kumbaya status yet?
They're closer.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I thought it was rocky.
It was
for a
pretty
while.
rocky for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we did, I think I mentioned last week or week before, we did chip seal and oil rock the parking lot back to the trap houses, which is part of the RCO grant. That grant money has to be spent by the end of July of 2024. So I think this trap house and the pads are the last section of that first grant. RCO grant number 2 for the trap houses is the restroom and like meeting space out there. That I think that has a 2 years. I think it's 2026 when that has to be completed. But those contracts have not been signed yet. Sounds like they got approval for those, but those usually come out in August. So I would guess that in the next month we'll get those contracts. We'll be in front of you guys for approval.
And the maintenance RCO grant that Alyssa talked about last week.
Yeah.
Has she heard if we've gotten that?
Not finalized yet, no.
All right. And at some other time in the future, when it's appropriate, update on LT1 and gyms.
Correct. Yeah. Savannah's going to work with Kelly when all 3 of you guys are here because it's best to have the presentation, all 3 of commissioners at once.
Cool. Yeah, I assume it'll be 2 months away or more.
Let's hope not. Yeah, but I don't know what your schedule is.
Well, it's the kind of thing where if there's something we can do to help, we'd like to hear it immediately, but otherwise, the schedule should be on your end.
Yeah, like I said, mainly working with Kelly to see what Tuesday or Wednesdays open with you guys, all 3 of you here. So hopefully we can get you in the month of September, maybe end of August. I'm not sure what your calendar looks like. Well, we can meet afterwards with Kelly and Savannah and figure out a time that works for you guys.
We just have to get our vacations on.
Well, I've got an issue brewing that would probably push it to September,
Okay.
but
That's fine. Yeah. And we could do it in 2 separate occasions. I just think it'd be best with Savannah and Jim to have all 3 commissioners there, but if only 2's there and that's the only way we can schedule it, we could do it in 2 separate workshops.
yeah. Yeah, thank you. Susan, do you get tired of being last?
No, I have lots of patience. So
Actually, she's spending the most money. Although Will's giving her a run for his money.
Will is giving me a run for the money right now to see who's spending the most. So I just always thought you saved the best for last, and that's why I went last.
That's why we have this picture of garbage.
Well, that's all Mike. Well, isn't that where the money is?
Yeah, and it's substantial.
Yes, there's substantial money in garbage. No, so what I'm here today is mainly for Ecology in their wisdom has requested that we update our signatory authorization form again, because that is their method. That every time the board changes. So I'm bringing forward my request that we update our electronic signature agreement form with Arn signing off as our LRP, which is our legally responsible party, and Mike doing all the signatures. I have a draft letter that I prepared that I can forward to Kelly for your signature. And then I have the form completed. Mike signed his part and then we need your signature. So I was hoping to get direction from the board that we could move ahead with that. The reason they're doing this right now is a year in advance of the permit reissuance, we have to file saying, yes, we are going to resubmit, and that should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So they're trying to get all of these forms done ahead of time.
I think this issue resulted in a nasty grammar too between Doug Jensen and Ecology in the past.
Yes, the last time we did this, it did in the past, but
Yeah.
they're adamant that this is what we have to do.
I'll always be on Doug Jensen's side.
So I'm perfectly okay authorizing Aaron to sign whatever he has to because he's working with ecology. Such a rewarding experience for you.
Indeed.
Thank you. I will get Kelly the form with Mike's signature and I'll email her this draft letter. So make her work easier.
But the chairman is not the signature.
No, not in this case. It's just one of the board members. So, and for some reason, Arn is listed on our website as our legally responsible person.
That's because he's from #1 district.
It's the governance committee, I think.
I don't know.
Because you're the signature for the drug awards too, aren't you?
Oh,
it your name or
I don't know how that happened, but it's been straightened out. It's Rick's now.
Moving on to, I have parks waste as an item on the agenda, but it's actually, we get waste throughout the county. And a lot of times it's in the form of an RV or a car in a right of way. But you guys got a picture from, this actually came from Melissa. At Cook Ferry at the pit toilet, similar pit toilets that we'll have at Cowayman Park. At first, we initially thought these were just buckets of paint, but they're actually human waste. The reason we brought this to your attention because it seems to be more common of more things that we're getting.
Wait. What's in the buckets?
Human waste.
Because the restrooms are closed.
I
Or
believe those
locked?
restrooms are open. I don't know what they're cleaning out of their house or a business or a homeless camp or wherever this may have came from. We have no idea. We turned it over to the sheriff's office. I haven't heard back, but I don't think they're going to find much
I
evidence.
don't understand. There's something, whenever there's an opportunity to use a restroom, I don't think of, gosh, if I had a 5-gallon can here, I'd use that instead.
Yeah, they just had it wherever they were living at, or like I said, a place of business.
And they just drop it.
They
right there.
dropped it off.
Oh, I thought you had collected
Nope,
this.
nope, they didn't collect it. I'm sorry. No, these were actually dropped like our other things were dropped in our right of way. These were actually dropped at Cook
Because
Ferry.
we don't have a disposal site for RVs.
We do actually in Castle Rock at the Lions Club Park, which is probably only 1.5 miles away from here. There's a disposal site.
Is this RV disposal or just?
I don't believe it was. She didn't go into a lot of detail. She just said when they opened it up, they thought it was like cans of paint, but they're all human waste. So things that unfortunately the Parks Department has to deal with here, but like, so we see it elsewhere, but we haven't seen human waste in buckets like this inside the road. It's usually vehicles and equipment.
Yeah, you know what I used to do is I'd roll up a newspaper and I'd shove the dog's nose in it and spank him. Can we do that?
Be nice to find the odors of this, yeah. So it's mainly a FYI. We'll get some stuff out on social media, but it's probably not gonna do much good. We probably won't find the culprits of this. So like I said, we did turn it over to the sheriff's office.
Wow.
So this is just in the last month or
It
is
was
that
like
certain particular,
last week.
just last week?
Yeah.
This is a week's worth, is what you're telling
No,
me?
it showed up last week on site when they get there to check. They do garbage runs, I think, every other day to our pit toilets to, and then found this when they showed up that morning.
What's that bag alongside the trash bin?
I don't know if that was from us or if they may have took the picture after they put a new bag in that garbage can. They were just getting ready to put that in the back of the
Okay.
truck.
Oh.
Since it's pretty nice and clean right there, I'm guessing they just took, that may have came out of the garbage can.
So how do you get rid of these?
I asked her if she needed help disposing of it. She said she already did. So I don't know if I haven't asked her if she just dumped it into the pit toilet themselves or my guess is you have an idea? Nope. If, or if she hauled it away, but my guess with the toilet right there or the pit toilet, she wouldn't want to put that in back of her truck, that she probably just dumped it inside the toilets.
Mm. No sudden stops, please.
So I just told her from in the future, maybe we reach out to some local third-party companies that dispose of that and said we don't have to put our hands on it.
If I were to open that door and walk in, what condition would I normally find?
I don't think, I've been through quite a few pit toilets in my life, Forest Service world, and usually they're not bad. Most people who go to one in the Forest Service land, take care of it. You find a little bit of garbage, and the biggest concerns for them is putting garbage actually in the toilet themselves. But usually there's a lot of spiders, pretty dirty, dusty inside. But for the most part, the floors are usually fairly decently cleaned in there. But
These
this one
have
here,
to be
I've been
pumped
inside
out?
I've been inside Cook Ferry for a couple of years. So I can't tell you exactly the condition inside it.
These have to be pumped out. They're not.
Yeah, they get pumped out annually, probably. Most of them do. They have they have a large tank. I think she said last week how big the tank was, but I can't remember exactly how many thousands of gallons there or 1,000 gallon.
Oh, that's a big tank.
Yeah. Anyway, I finish off on a good note. Sorry.
No, you know what, every now and then, like I've reported, finding people dumping all their trash on a hidden trail. It just really upsets me.
We find a lot of it at the end of county roads.
Yeah, there's no need for that.
Yeah.
I mean, for whatever it is they save, maybe $1, it cost us $1,000.
Yeah. And our disposal rates are so cheap and in the counties, it's sad to see them dump it where they do. The big problem for us is usually, like I said, the RVs, but also fiberglass boats. They take them right off the trailer. The trailer's worth something to them. They can scrap it or sell it, but the fiberglass boats are worth nothing. So they just push off the fiberglass boat and are right away. So anyway.
Well, at least they didn't dump it in the river.
True.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
So we did have asked for an executive session today for contract negotiations. We're expecting 10 minutes at the max, but we'll go ahead and ask for 10. But that's all we have unless you guys have any miscellaneous items for us.
So
Let's go ahead and do that.
Thank you.
We will be recessing for 10 minutes to do an executive session on contract negotiations.
last time we set up for 10 minutes, we went half an hour, didn't we?
We went 25 minutes.
25 minutes. Oh, yeah.
The executive session has been extended for 5 minutes until 12:19.
We just came back from the executive session in which we discussed issues about a contract negotiation. No decisions were made. At this point, we should be looking at miscellaneous.
I see no hands up from the audience.
Yep. no hands
Nobody's
up.
in the audience here. So I don't have anything else for
Well,
miscellaneous.
let's see, what, is there anything, we're already overdue anyhow, but we meet tomorrow. Are we meeting Tuesday afternoon? No, it was canceled.
Tuesday afternoon's canceled.
And on Wednesday, that's a good meeting. That's at the afternoon meeting, the very late afternoon meeting, 5:30.
5.
We will repeat all that tomorrow. So at this point, I think we're done. Are we not?
Thank you.
Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned.